Anthropic just released an experimental feature within Claude Code called Agent Teams. Now, in this video, I'm going to be taking you through and explaining what agent teams are, how they work, what are the benefits. I'm going to show you some real-world examples of the output, and I'm going to show you how you can set up and enable agent teams within Claude Code. So let's get straight into it. You can see this diagram on the screen. This is basically a very quick explanation of how agent teams differ to the standard sub-agent setup. So you can see when we speak to Claude, usually, essentially what's happening is we have a main agent that then contacts multiple different sub-agents. These sub-agents don't talk to each other. They're just doing their own thing. And then they come up with the output. So you can imagine when you're setting up loads of sub-agents to do a task, like for example, build a agency dashboard, which is one of the examples I'll show you later. They kind of go off, do their own thing, don't communicate with each other. And yeah, it makes it harder, longer, and the output sometimes can be varied from section to section. There's nothing wrong with doing it normally. You can build huge SaaS applications normally, but just this new agent teams feature, as you can see in the next diagram, it allows agents to go off, do their own task, communicate with one another. There is a team lead in the team that reports back to you. You can talk to each agent individually, make sure they're getting on with the right thing. So, for example, you could have a team member for UI design. You can have a team member for data. You can have a devil's advocate that points out or makes suggestions. They all report back to the team leader. And then the team leader basically manages that team. One of the major differences, obviously, if you run an agent team with tons of agents, it's going to cost you way more tokens than the standard way. But from my testing over the past few days, I've been using roughly about 3 to 4 agents in my agent teams. And to be honest, the token difference isn't huge when you're actually building out applications and workflows. But you can imagine when the teams scale to like 7, 8 team members, they're all getting on with their own thing. The token usage does increase a lot. Now, here is a better explanation of what agent teams are, pulled straight from the Claude Code docs. Now, you can see an agent team consists of a team lead, teammates, a task list, and a mailbox. The team lead is the main Claude Code session that creates the team, spawns teammates, and coordinates work. Teammates, separate Claude Code instances that work on each assigned task, and then a task list that is generated by the team lead, and that is then assigned to different teammates, and then the mailbox, which is the messaging system for communication between agents. Now, here's a little comparison with sub-agents, and we'll go to the Claude Code docs, and I'll take you through that as well in a second. But you can see here that agent teams, they have their own context window, they're fully independent, they get on with their own task, and then they communicate back to one another, and it's all managed by the team lead. So you can see the main differences being that the main agent manages all the work, whereas in the agent teams, shared task list with self-coordination. When to use agent teams. So agent teams are most effective for tasks where parallel exploration adds real value. So this is when building bigger, or you want a bigger output and you want the confidence that it's actually going to work first try, or with less attempts, with less back and forth between Claude. But yeah, from my testing, I found it really powerful in terms of one-shotting usable dashboards. So yeah, I found it way better when it comes to one-shotting usable dashboards. I will show you a couple of examples of that now before we move on to the Claude Code docs, and I'll take you through there. So here is the dashboard that I got Agent Teams to spit out for me. Didn't take too long. You can see this is literally a one-shot prompt. I'll leave the prompt for this in my free school community, so you can just try this out exactly for yourself. But you can see here that we have multiple different pages. You can click on each thing and it will link to different sections. So you can click on different clients here. You can see the scores. You can see the revenue snapshot. You can come see action items, recent activity. So overview, clients, projects. We can click into projects, see what deliverables are needed. We can add deliverables. We can see all the blockers. You can mark them as resolved. You can update the status. And then you can see the capacity as well. So this was a one-shot prompt. And to get something like this first try, I think is pretty impressive. I'll show you a comparison later when I actually pretty much use exactly the same prompt, but I just used the standard sub-agent normal way of doing things. But this was built by, I believe, 3 teammates and then a team leader in Claude Code. So yeah, the main difference is being just the ability to produce a way better design, UX, UI, workable dashboard, or whatever you're building in one try instead of just the back and forth. Obviously, this is still a test feature within Claude Code, but I can imagine they're going to continue to develop this over the next few months, and eventually it will probably be a standard procedure. Now, let's head over to the Claude Code docs. So inside of the Claude Code docs here, you can see, like I just mentioned, agent teams are experimental and disabled by default. So to actually run agent teams, you have to change a line of code in your settings.json, which I'll show you how to do a bit later. But yeah, this docs page is really useful. It just basically explains what I was saying to you earlier, like compare a sub with sub-agents, enable agent teams, start your first agent team. So once you have agent teams enabled, you have to tell it to generate a team and create the team and spawn teammates specifically for it to actually work. If you just enable teams and then come into the CLI or Claude Code, the terminal, and just say, can you generate me a dashboard? It won't spawn teammates without you telling it to, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'll leave the link to this in the description, as well as a few other bits if you want to check this out. Okay, so to actually get started with agent teams and how to enable it, you can obviously go into settings.json and manually change the code. But if you're like me and you're a bit lazy, all you need to do is just copy this page and just paste it straight into the Claude Code terminal or Claude Code, and it will go ahead and enable agent teams within your workspace. So once you have run that copy and pasted page from the Claude Code docs inside of Claude Code, then you will be able to tell Claude Code to spin up a agent team. So I'm going to just paste in this prompt here. So I'm designing a CLI tool that helps developers track to-do comments across their code base. Create an agent team to explore this from different angles. One teammate on UX, one on technical architecture, one playing devil's advocate. So you can see I've explicitly said create an agent team. Here are the agents that I want. This is going to make sure that Claude Code is actually going to listen to me and generate an agent team. Cool. So you can see here that it spun up two agents. Two agents launched, the UX researcher, the tech architect, and we can have a look at each one. You can see our other teammates here. 3 agents are working in parallel now. So we have a teammate UX researcher. Their focus is on the CLI patterns, workflow integration, competitive landscape, the tech architect, parsing, storage, performance, language choice, data model, and then the devil's advocate, challenging assumptions, adoption barriers, and alternative approaches. Now, one really, really good thing about this is you can see what task each agent is working on. So you can see here, analyzing the UX experience for the to-do tracker. That's getting done by the UX researcher, designing architecture for the CLI, and then playing devil's advocate on the to-do tracker. So really, really cool here. We can even go one step further and have a look once I do this. Here we go. So you can see all of our teammates, team lead, devil's advocate, tech architect, UX researcher. So here, if we hit shift up, we can actually click on each individual team member and actually speak to them. So you can see now I'm talking to the devil's advocate, shift up. Now I'm talking to the team lead, shift up. Now I'm talking to the UX researcher. And now I'm talking to the tech architect. So really, really powerful stuff here. And in the future, I can see this getting really, really cool. You can build tons of different teams with loads of different teammates to build a really complicated system and try to do it in as less runs as possible. Again, like I mentioned earlier, token usage is definitely higher when using agent teams because you've obviously got independent teammates or independent Claude instances running, and each of them have their own token usage. So that's just one thing to watch out for. But in a build like this, where we've just got 3 teammates and then 1 team lead, it's not too much depending on the complexity of the system that you're building. So that's essentially how to get set up and use Claude Code Agent Teams. Remember, just head over to the docs, copy and paste that into your Claude Code interface, and then it will enable that for you. One last thing, I just wanted to go back to this example that I showed you earlier, built with Agent Teams with a one-shot prompt, and then compare it to the exact sort of same idea and system and UI built without Agent Teams and just the standard sub-agent feature. So this is the one with Agent Teams. You can see the UX, UI, you can click on everything, open everything. It looks actually really, really good for a one-shot prompt, which again, I'll leave in my free school community so you can download the prompts if you wanted to try this out yourself. So yeah, pretty impressed with this. Now, let's head over to the one-shot prompt without Agent Teams. So we're looking at something like this. And again, to be honest with you, it looks pretty good for a one-shot prompt. We've got different sections we can click into, and we can see each individual thing. We can create new projects, we can flag issues, we can record a payment. We've got a client section. And to be honest, I'm actually very, very impressed with this. All of this is built on or with Opus 4.6, so that's probably why we're getting the upgrade with this. But again, active onboarding, paused, churned, different project folders. I think the main difference here is that it just looks cleaner when built with Agent Teams, obviously, because all the teammates are connecting and talking to each other. But to be honest, I'm impressed with both. I would recommend definitely trying out Agent Teams for yourself, seeing what you think. They will obviously improve, and the more complex the project you're building, the obviously better and more it makes sense to actually use Agent Teams. Whereas maybe building something like this probably isn't something that you would use Teams for. But again, I really I prefer the Agent Teams output than the standard sub agent output. There's more going on. We can click and actually see a lot more data here. But yeah, one last thing before I close off this video, I just wanted to mention that you can actually change the model of Claude each agent is using. So within VS Code or Cursor or whatever code base you're using, you can actually select each individual agent and edit that agent, change the model. So if you want one agent to code a more complex task, then you can set that to Opus 4.6. You can have one agent set to Sonnet 4.5. You can play around with it. But yeah, I can see this being a really, really big thing in the future. But that's all from me. Let me know what you think. You can download the prompts for these agency dashboards in my free school community below. I'll also be sharing a lot more Claude Code videos in there soon. But thank you very much for viewing this video and have a great day.